Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Holly Pritchard. 2026 marks 125 years of dedicated service by the Australian Army and its predecessors. We warmly welcome the family of Private Charles Hambling, who are in attendance today. Private Hambling's story will be read shortly by Colonel Graham Price, joining us today from the Australian Army. Today marks Colonel Price's last day in the Australian Army after 40 years of service. Sir, we thank you for your service. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family and visitors to the memorial and students on behalf of the Australian Army Cadets. If you are able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem. Those who are able to do so, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Private Charles Hambling. Charles Hambling was born in the Western Sydney suburb of Granville in 1894. Known as Charlie, he was the second of 8 children born to Rosalie and George Hambling. The family moved to nearby suburb of Canberra, where Charlie attended school. After leaving school, he worked as a tile maker, and he was known in the local area as a boxer. In August 1914, Britain declared war on Germany after Germany invaded neutral Belgium. In July 1915, Hambling volunteered for service in the Australian Imperial Force. He put his age up by 1 year, claiming to be 21, when he was actually 20 years of age. In this way, he avoided seeking his parents' permission to serve overseas. Hambling began his training at Liverpool Army Camp, not far from where he'd grown up. He joined reinforcements for the 1st Australian Infantry Battalion, which at the time was fighting in Gallipoli. In early October, Hambling and the reinforcements left Sydney on the troopship Warilda and sailed to Egypt. With the failure of the Gallipoli campaign, British commanders decided to withdraw from the peninsula, and all Australian troops returned to Egypt by December. In January of 1916, Hambling joined the 1st Battalion and trained with his unit in the army camps outside Cairo. This period saw the Australian Infantry Force more than double in size, while rigorous training in the desert made the battalions into effective fighting forces. Towards the end of March, the 1st Battalion sailed to the French port of Marseille. The men then travelled by train north to the battlefields of the Western Front, where they were stationed near the border between Belgium and France. In July, the 1st Battalion moved south to the Somme River to take part in a series of attacks by Australian forces on the German-occupied French village of Pozières. On the day the unit attacked, Hambling was struck in the right hand by shrapnel and wounded. He was evacuated to a hospital in the French city of Rouen, where he spent the next month recuperating. In September, the battalion moved north and crossed the border into Belgium, taking up positions in frontline trenches near the city of Ypres. Late in the month, the 1st Battalion's trenches came under German artillery and trench mortar fire. Hambling was struck by shell fragments in his head and wounded for the second time. He was evacuated to the coastal city of Boulogne, where he recovered in hospital for several weeks, returning to his unit in early November. When Hambling rejoined the 1st Battalion, it was back on the Somme battlefield, and the autumn rains had set in, turning the ground to a muddy morass. 2 days after he returned to the unit, on the 5th of November 1916, the 1st Battalion attacked near Goudencourt. In the cloying mud, the men were unable to keep up with the artillery barrage, which gave the German defenders time to regroup. The Australians then came under heavy machine gun and rifle fire, and they eventually withdrew. While assaulting the German trenches, Hambling was killed in action. He was 22 years old. In the confusion of the attack and withdrawal, Hambling was listed as missing. In late February or early March 1917, during a general German withdrawal from the area, the 1st Battalion moved into the former battlefield. Members of the battalion discovered his body and they buried him, along with other comrades who'd been killed. Hambling's family in Australia received official confirmation of his death in about July 1917, some 8 months after he had died. Although Hambling's body was buried, over the course of the war, the area changed hands and the legation of his grave was lost. Today, his name is inscribed on the Villers-Bretonneux Memorial in France, alongside more than 10,000 Australian soldiers who died in the war and have no known grave. Private Charles Hambling is listed to the Roll of Honour on my right. Amongst almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Charles Hambling, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall not grow old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. And at the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. Lest we forget.
We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the director, staff, and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.